Hello everyone, welcome to today's podcast Uttara Vibes Beyond the Books. This is Shababa Saif and today I'm here with Dr. Ishrat Hossain, Associate Professor and Dean, School of Business Administration at Uttara University. Sir, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
So sir, my first question is, teacher is a big term, right? So often we see that teachers can change the whole perception of an entire generation. In your opinion, what qualities or mindset should a good teacher have?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you for having me in today's
My
episode.
pleasure.
I personally remind myself that it's a privilege that I can be in a profession which I'm very passionate about, and it's just not a job only. It's much more than a job. So সেই প্রেক্ষিতে, I feel very lucky that I get this chance to interact and teach our young generation. And we can never forget, as teachers, we can never forget that we are the guide, we are the custodian of the next leaders, of the future professionals, of the future workers. So that responsibility cannot be undermined. So যখন আমরা আসলে আমাদের স্টুডেন্টদের সাথে ইন্টারঅ্যাক্ট করি, I think it's not only me, I would say many teachers would feel the same way. That interaction should be with care, right? এমনভাবে আমাদের একটা caring and sharing mentality থাকতে হবে, as if I am interacting with my own children. So সেই বেসিসই আমাদের অ্যাপ্রোচিংটা হওয়া উচিত. And I also strongly believe that teaching is not about, you come to the class and just you put up your slides.
Exactly.
And you just read from there, right? It's about the storytelling. So you have to use your own experience. You have to use your inspiring stories, your own personal integrity to share the classroom topics, So again, as I say, it's not about just, coming and reading with them. So with that attitude, if we continue, I think students will remember their teacher not really exactly for the topics they taught, right? It will be about how they inspired them, what kind of positive impression they left in their lives, So if I take some examples, from my own life, let me start with one of my private tutors who was, when I was a student in the school, school থাকাকালীন সে আমাকে বাসায় পড়াইতো, ইদ্রিসুর রহমান স্যার, যার সাথে আমি এখনও I'm in touch with him. সেই স্যারকে যখন আমি মনে করি এখনও, I don't remember exactly সে আমাকে কি পড়াইছে আর কি, but I remember his honesty, I remember his hard work, I remember his simplicity. এরপরে যখন যেহেতু আমি আমেরিকাতে, আমার আন্ডার গ্র্যাজুয়েটটাও আমেরিকাতে করা হয়েছে আর কি, সো আমার যে আন্ডার গ্র্যাজুয়েট যে অ্যাডভাইজার ছিল ডক্টর জর্জ কোলিয়ার, when I remember him for the inspiration he gave me, for encouragement he gave me to continue to higher education, to my master's, to my PhD. He was a very big supporter, of pushing me. I wasn't that serious at that time, but because of inspiration, I really pushed myself to go further. এরপরে আমি যখন আমার গ্র্যাজুয়েট প্রোগ্রাম, সেটা আমি আমেরিকাতে ওকলাহোমা স্টেট ইউনিভার্সিটিতে করেছি আর কি, ওখানে আমার অ্যাডভাইজার ছিল ডক্টর ফ্রান্সিস এপ্লিন। তাকে যখন আমি মনে করি, I still remember him because of his eternal positivity, his attitude, cheerful attitude. His door was always open for us, the students. We could go anytime, talk about anything, personal life or my academic life, and he would always patiently give us advice, So, and all the teachers that I'm talking about, I'm still in touch with them after 30 years or 25 years, and on a regular basis, I
Great.
sometimes talk to them over the phone, or when I get a chance to go and visit, I go physically, I see them. And that's something we should remember. It is the legacy we leave with our students who remember us for those kind of things. It is not only about the topics that's been taught.
Very well said, sir. Sir, my second question is, in your opinion, what are the most important skill sets a future corporate professional should have, especially in this era of technology, AI, and globalization?
That's a very important question. I think this AI, machine learning, these are all in our minds. We all realize যে লাস্ট 100-200 বছরের মধ্যে আমার মনে হয় আমরা এমন একটি এরাতে আছি যেটা ইজ ভেরি ইউনিক, ইজ ভেরি ডিফারেন্ট। থিংস উইল চেঞ্জ সো র্যাপিডলি। আই পার্সোনালি আই এম নট শিওর আমাদের ইন রিসেন্ট হিস্ট্রিতে এরকম ঘটনা ঘটেছে কিনা আর কি। And obviously that's because of this AI, machine learning and all of these things. So let me start with a recent survey that I was reading and many articles that we all get a chance to read. সেখানে বলতেছিল যে কোন স্কিলগুলো in demand in the next, whatever. Globally, obviously that applies to our
country as well,
also.
Of course.
And the first one came as AI literacy, right? So AI literacy. What does that mean? So you don't have to be an AI expert. So আমরা এমন একটা অবস্থা এখন যে নাই যে শুধুমাত্র AI মানে হলো যারা শুধু টেকনিক্যাল ফিল্ডে আছে শুধু তাদের জন্য AI দরকার। It's not like that. Everybody, no matter what field you are in, almost everybody, you have to know certain level of AI. You have to be certain level of literacy in AI. So that is the first thing, right? So it doesn't matter whether in a technical field or you are in a corporate marketing field or you are in an administrative field, it doesn't matter. So that is the first thing. Now, it is not about AI to start with, AI to finish with. There are many other skills. Even in this era of AI and machine learning, one thing is for sure, right? That things will evolve very fast, very quickly. We don't know where it will go. কিন্তু change হবে. এই ব্যাপারে we all agree, right? So what are the skills needed to survive in this kind of changing environment? First thing I will say, adaptability, right? You need to adapt. Whatever comes in your way, you need to adapt to and be ready for it, right? Then problem-solving skill, creative thinking, obviously, it comes with that. Communication skills. Even to deal with AI, you need to ask the right questions, which obviously part of your communication skills.
Yeah.
And obviously the lifelong learner, that's something we talk over and over. I think everybody talks about that because you need to be ready to learn the new tools coming in, new ideas that coming in. So based on that, these are the skills which machines cannot easily replicate. Machine চাইলে এই জিনিসগুলো করতে পারবে না। So ওই স্কিলগুলো হলো even more important for our students. And that's what we need to be preparing our students for, to be ready for that. Again, lifelong learner mentality, continuous learning mentality. There's no alternate to that. You cannot just say, okay, I have learned enough in my university. I can just go and use those things as I like. That's not going to happen. You have to change. You have to be ready for change. And you have to be ready to develop new skills and upskill yourself continuously to survive in this environment.
You answered it pretty well, sir. Thank you. So, Ishrat sir, my third question would be, nowadays many students are showing interest in becoming entrepreneurs. How do you see this trend?
I think it's very encouraging. Let me go back a little bit. I was reading an article on Joseph Stiglitz, who is a Nobel Prize winner in economics quite some time ago. He's a very big thinker in the US. And he had a lot of research on the history and innovation and all those things. So he was writing in the article that rich economies are based on innovation.
Wonderful.
It is not about always big discoveries. It is not about, just having lots of capital. Capital, I mean the machines and all those things. It is about innovation. So from a societal point of view, that is the type of society we need to build, innovative society. So what does that mean? The scientists, they invent, and we, especially in our business field, we need to innovate, using those invention. And that's how a society will progress. Now, if you look at our country, again, I would point out to some surveys in the recent 1 year is becoming quite prominent, these surveys and these outcomes of the survey. We shows that Bangladesh as a developing country, we obviously suffer from unemployment. But what is really damaging or discouraging, that this unemployment is actually much higher as you become more educated. তার মানে যারা উচ্চ শিক্ষিত বেশি, যাদের অনার্স ডিগ্রি আছে, যাদের মাস্টার্স ডিগ্রি আছে, তাদের মধ্যে আনএমপ্লয়মেন্টের হার হলো সবচেয়ে বেশি। দ্যাটস অবভিয়াসলি quite depressing, I would say.
It is.
Right? So obviously that's something maybe problematic, the way we are preparing our students from the universities, something we should obviously look at as a very big scale. Now, coming back, unemployment is a problem, right? And if the students, when they study, they only think about, I want to get a government job. I want to get a job in the corporate world. Well, I tell my students in the class, who's going to give you a job? Where are these many jobs? We have so many people unemployed working, right? So when they think about entrepreneurship, that's a very, very good thinking, that's a good start, right? And I really encourage them that, and I'm very happy, especially in my classes at Uttara University. When I talk to them, I sometimes ask them, okay, how many of you want to be an entrepreneur? How many of you want to be going for a job? And I'm very happy to see there are a lot of people, a lot of our students who really think about entrepreneurship.
Okay,
which is quite a good thing, that they're not only thinking about traditional jobs, right? They have to create job. I mean, there has to be enough people who create job so other people can do the job. If that doesn't happen, it cannot sustain, right? So that's a good starting point. And I also remind them there are certain skills you need. One of my favorite way I use my quote, that if you want to lead, you need to learn how to be led. So প্রথমেই তুমি যদি লিডার হইতে চাও, তোমাকে শিখতে হবে যে কিভাবে তুমি আরেকজনের আন্ডারেও কাজ করতে হবে. You need to train yourself. You need to learn yourself, right? And there are certain skills. In entrepreneurship is not an easy thing. There's a lot of risk there. You need a lot of teamwork. You need a lot of leadership kind of abilities. And that's why we also need to train them accordingly in our classroom. A simple example, in my classes, I give them some assignment, which is about teamwork. It's a group assignment. And recently I was in our library, and I thought, I saw some of our students, quite a few, from one section sitting in 2-3 different rooms, those quiet rooms in the library. And I asked them later on in the class, আমি তোমাদের অনেককে দেখলাম, কি করতেছিলা তোমরা এখানে? And they were saying, স্যার, আপনি আমাদের যে অ্যাসাইনমেন্টটা দিয়েছেন সেটা নিয়ে আমরা বসে বসে ডিসকাস করতেছিলাম. So this is the teamwork mentality that they are growing. So it is not only me. I'm sure many of our teachers are doing the same thing, and that's what we encourage each other. That's, we have sessions in our college, in our school, where we, encourage about our best practices. We share ideas, so we can embed this kind of mentality in our students, so they can become a successful entrepreneur in the future for themselves and for the country as a whole.
Very well said, sir. Thank you. Sir, my last question to you is, how important do you think ethics and social responsibilities are for a corporate world, and how can these values be developed in students?
I think that is the core of our teaching mentality should be. In every section I teach, very first class, I remind my students a famous quotation by Martin Luther King Jr., who was a civil rights activist from the US in the 50s and 60s, which also one of my favorite quote. So Martin Luther King Jr. said, the goal of education is intelligence and character. So I tell my students, look, I'm not here to make you highly intelligent person and without any character. So I remember these are the two things has to go hand in hand, intelligence and character. So as a teacher, obviously, that's the way we also need to approach our teaching. So how do we do that, right? Now, I also strongly believe, not only me, I would always say many teachers, right? The goal of teaching is to create students who has humility of thought. তার ভিতরটা humility কাজ করবে, in thinking, in knowledge. They should have evidence-based scientific thinking process, not like যা মনে হলো তাই বলে দিলাম, যা মনে হলো তাই চিন্তা করলাম. They need to use evidence to justify their thinking. They need to have awareness of the creator. They need to have awareness of the planet that we live in, harmony of people. So these are the basic characteristics we need to build in our students. So that is the way we put those in the center, and then our teaching approach will revolve around, those things. So ethics is obviously, it should be on the top. We as teachers, we need to practice ethics. We need to give examples of ethics. We need to, show examples, from our own life also. Empathy should be there, right? Which is very important. To me, empathy is one of the highest characteristic any human being can have. It is not about, I feel sorry for him. No. Empathy is about you put yourself in his shoes and you want to feel the way he feels. And that is not an easy one to develop. So as a teacher, we need to do that. We need to encourage our students to do that. How do we do that? There are many clubs we offer in our universities. Like we have, there's a club of mental health, which will help us to be mentally resilient. We have social voluntary kind of clubs. We have 11 clubs in total, and we are in the process of developing few other clubs, relevant clubs, which will be important to develop these human skills in our students. One of the club I personally strongly feeling, inshallah, we will probably try to launch it, as a school or as a university. I would say mini philosopher club, right? What is that? I want my students in the class, I always tell them, I want mini philosophers. I don't want to be a big philosopher. Big philosopher bolle shunte onek boro kichu shunai, bhoy peye jao tombra. Let's be mini philosopher, and we all can be mini philosopher. How? Well, you read, you write, you reflect, you think, and that's how you behave. আদারওয়াইজ নাহলে কি হবে, আমাদের দেশে আমরা অনেক ক্ষেত্রে দেখি আমরা হুজুগে অনেক কিছু নিয়ে বেশি নাচানাচি করি। আমরা অনেক কিছুই স্টোরির পিছনের যে স্টোরি সেটা জানার চেষ্টা করি না। And that is why we are easily misled by many people, whether it's in the corporate world, whether it's in our political world, anywhere, So that's why if you become a mini philosopher, you will learn to think, you will learn to reflect, and you will learn to make your own decision. Somebody cannot just easily mislead you to the wrong path. So I want to develop a club, where we encourage that, where we will read together, where we share our reading together. Maybe আমরা হয়তো একটা স্টুডেন্ট জার্নালও লঞ্চ করবো ইউনিভার্সিটিতে, যেখানে স্টুডেন্টরা চিন্তা করবে, স্টুডেন্টরা লিখবে। তার ফলে হবে কি, তাদের মিনি ফিলসফার মেন্টালিটি আস্তে আস্তে ডেভেলপ করবে। এগুলো যদি হয়, সে নৈতিকতাকে বুঝতে পারবে, সে সামাজিক যে তার একটা দায়বদ্ধতা আছে সেটাও সে বুঝতে পারবে। So when somebody start thinking, it will happen. If you go back to the philosopher, Socrates, Aristotle, that's all they wanted, at that time. Don't be somebody who take everything at the face value. Think, reflect on it, learn from it, then you make your decision.
So that's about it, sir. I'm going to wrap up this session right here. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much, viewers, for connecting with us. And stay tuned, because we're going to come up with more podcasts like this with forward-thinking ideas and concepts. Thank you.